One of the NBA's most popular players and one of broadcast's most popular personalities, Kyrie Irving and Stephen A. Smith, continue to go back and forth. This thing really picked up last offseason when Kyrie Irving announced that he would not be getting vaccinated, which obviously impacted his Brooklyn Nets team. Stephen A. Smith has been very critical of Kyrie's decision off the court. And even when Kyrie became a member of the Brooklyn Nets once again, he was critical of Kyrie on the court. Kyrie tweeted this out following the Brooklyn Nets' disappointing end to their season, in which they lost in 4 games to the Boston Celtics. When I see my name or my brothers or sister names getting spawned through the media, I refer to all my research about who they are. Their job is to control public perception, all while profiting off discussing, discrediting, and disrespecting people's lives for entertainment. I send shots at the puppet masters, not the puppets. All puppets do is run around society trying to gain popularity and state opinions. What a life. Shrug emoji. My name is worth billions to these media corporations. My brothers and sisters who deal with this know exactly what I mean. Entertainment. When you become free mentally and spiritually, there is not much this twisted racist society can surprise you with. My ancestors left behind all of the wisdom and truth for their agenda to be exposed. When you know exactly who they are, they can't hide from their filth. A lot of these media corporations make their money by disgrading Black, African, indigenous community heroes. They thrive off it and then sell it back to us by having a hand-selected person or group of people spark controversy about them for the world to see. Just watch all of the people who wake up every day and report about people's lives on TV and social media and then profit off of them. Then they justify their jobs by saying they get paid to say how they feel. LO, it's like these people live in a fantasy. Well, Stephen A. Smith, on his show First Take, obviously took Kyrie's comment personal in the heart, and I do believe Stephen A. Smith was one of the people that Kyrie was giving that vitriol to, but there are a lot of others. We'll talk about it in a second. Stephen A. responded to Kyrie by saying this: you can try to paint this issue, Kyrie, as anything you want to. It comes down to this. You don't want to show up for work. You want to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, while you got your hand out for someone else's money. And then you get called on it. We're the peons. We're the ones who are puppets. So before you excoriate us, now you're pitying us because you want to highlight the puppet masters who you are worth billions to. You're not worth billions, bro. Millions, yes. Billions, no. That's delusional. You gave that up years ago. Kyrie Irving is one of the greatest professionals at missing work, on top of the 53 games he missed after getting paid $30 million. Here you are. You don't want to work unless you want to do it when you want to do it. You come back from the vaccine mandate, and even though you had some spectacular games, there were other games that you struggled in. And literally, he went on the record to say that he didn't have his legs, that he was tired. Well, what the hell were you doing all that time? It's beyond the pale to ask that question. And then you go out on a Twitter rant and you go and spew stuff. Why? Because the media that gets paid to cover the sport is asking you about the sport you voluntarily signed up to play, getting paid an exuberant amount of money to play. Half the time, you don't even show up to work. They point out the load that you put on your teammates because of your absence and talk about how that may very well be the reason why you got swept out of the first round, and this is on us. So I want you guys to keep in mind who I am. There is bias in this fight, all right? I want to say that again. There is bias in this fight from me. I like to always acknowledge when I could have bias. Usually I never have bias, but let's call a spade a spade. I went to school as a sports journalist, all right? Keep that in mind. I studied 4 years at the University of Tennessee. I worked with Stephen A. Smith at ESPN in Connecticut for half a year. I got to know the brother a little bit from afar. I was an intern. I did breakfast with the brother one time, but I don't know Stephen A. Smith. Obviously, I had the pleasure of covering the brother. But keep in mind, I'm biased. I'm a sports reporter that previously worked with Stephen A. Smith. At the time, it was when him and Skip were on First Take. I want that to be put in the atmosphere. First, I want athletes to play basketball. I'm covering the NBA night in, night out. It is in the best interest of me to have athletes playing basketball, especially ones that are as great as Kyrie Irving is. There's bias in this fight for me. I want to acknowledge that. First, though, I'll give Kyrie the benefit of the doubt in this. I believe everybody in sports media can do a better job of highlighting how great these athletes are at what they do. I'm talking about all across the board. Professional athletes are something that me and most likely you can't do. We need to do a better job and acknowledging the greatness of these athletes. When I look at shows like First Take, again, a show that I interned on, when I look at shows like Undisputed, and all the way down, those are two of the more popular ones on ESPN and FS1 respectfully, but all the way on down, I do believe there are too many people, platforms, benefiting off athletes' worst moment, and we're not celebrating their greatness enough. I want to start with that before anything. Like, the teams win the championship, and the next day it's, okay, let's predict who will win the championship next year. Wait a minute. Let's celebrate Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams first. Let's celebrate Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, let's celebrate these teams on their accomplishments, unless the accomplishment is not the most important thing to you. So I do want to call out First Take, a network that Stephen A. Smith works for, on not more times than not focusing on the aspect of the game. And I'll call myself out and everybody else that benefits. We need to focus less on the drama, and the attention needs to be on what these athletes are doing night in, night out. Because a lot of these guys are doing things in my wildest of dreams I couldn't do. If you're asking me, would I be a journalist over an NBA player? I would want to be an NBA player. I didn't have the talent to do that. Okay? So respect to Kyrie Irving, what he gives the game. Now, from here on out, you're going to hear some criticism in Kyrie's direction, because I do think what he's saying overall is ridiculous. Kai, you do realize that Stephen A. Smith specifically, because I do believe you were talking about him, though you didn't say him by name. Stephen A.'s been on your case all year, and I do believe he's went very hard on you. But I want to say this in defense of Stephen A. Kai, Stephen A. Smith specifically works for ESPN. I do believe you were referencing him, though I have to acknowledge you did not say him by name in that quote. It's a simple working relationship for all parties involved. I'll break it down to you as best I can. The most important piece to the puzzle is fans. Fans watch TV. The better the ratings are, allows TV networks like ESPN to charge advertisers, local and national, more dollars for ads, because more people are watching TV. The more ESPN is able to charge for ads, the more profitable they are as a corporation. The more profitable they are as a corporation is the more money they have to spend to keep a network or a company like the NBA happy, which is where you come in. The more ESPN and Turner both have to spend on the NBA, the more money the NBA has to divvy up to teams, which is how your salary comes into the fold. This is a simple dynamic. So for Stephen A. Smith, the network that he works for, ESPN, they spend billions of dollars a year to keep the NBA happy and keep them there. Most of the year, the NBA isn't even on. So yes, it is in ESPN's best interest when there are not games on, the 3 to 5 hours a night that games are on, great. But there are like 21 other hours of programming that ESPN has to be accounted for, all in efforts to keep people interested in the NBA, to, yes, help themselves, ESPN, be better at profits. That's the end-all, be-all goal. They're doing it to promote the game. People want to hear barbershop conversations, and if shows like First Take, if shows like Undisputed are doing that, you're not going to make the NBA upset. That's your business problem. That's who pays you, Kai, the NBA, the owners of the NBA teams. You have to understand that dynamic. And Kai's a smart dude. So for him to act like he doesn't understand that very simple business dynamic is beyond me. Like, Kyrie Irving acts like the NBA just comes up with this money willy-nilly. If it's about the art of playing basketball, Irving, you've made a lot of money. You'd be better off going to a YMCA in a very nice neighborhood. You can afford that, and playing ball where there are no cameras at. Now, maybe they'll record you a couple times because you're Kyrie. You're one of the greatest athletes that we've seen in today's game. Like, maybe they'll record you for a few times, but I guarantee if you go to that same YMCA for years, sooner or later the cameras will go away. It'll just be you and 9 of the hoopers out there running games left and right. But you don't want that. You want the millions of dollars that the NBA pays you. You want the ads. You want the Nike money. You want all the things that come with the game. You just don't want the pressures and rigors of what comes into promoting the game of basketball. That's bothersome to me. You know, people work hard for their money. And then the wild thing is I'll see people come to the defense of Kyrie Irving and crap on Stephen A. Smith. You do realize Kyrie Irving is disrespecting you when he talks about Stephen A. Smith, right? A lot of people don't understand that. When Kyrie Irving speaks negatively on corporations, a lot of these corporations do business with ESPN. You might not work for ESPN, but what if you work at Coca-Cola? What if you work for Allstate? A lot of these companies do advertisements with ESPN. They're in that relationship. It's one big happy family. And Kyrie's crapping on all of y'all. Anybody involved with promoting the game in any way, which advertisers are, Kyrie's crapping on him. He's speaking from a privileged place that's forgot where he came from. I don't like it. You need people covering the game. The reason why guys like me are able to cover the game, post highlights of the game, is because the NBA is looking for every which way to make their game an even more global sport. The more hours of the day the NBA has their product on people's mind, the better, no matter how we get there, as long as it ain't nothing negative. And talking about you being unavailable for your team, which you have been more times than not in your career, is relevant to your team being eliminated early again. Last year's second round, now y'all getting worse in the first round after y'all barely made the playoffs at all, which means history would tell me that something else is going to come up with you next year, whether it's another vaccine mandate or whether it's another some type of storming protest at the White House or at wherever, at the Capitol, wherever. Something's going to come up in which you decide to not play basketball, which means your Brooklyn Nets might not make the postseason at all.